speakers who are in the AI space. So we have, as you see, the map, which is a little flattened, but trust me, those pins are real. Yeah, we have a lot, we have our existence in a lot of different areas, not just America, but also Europe, India, Asia, and so on and so forth. And what we do a lot of different things, not just the tech talks, but we also have, we have like virtual seminar that's weekly on Fridays. Then we have AI meetups like this one. And from this year, we are going to do it 2 times a month. One is going to be the Tech Talk event like tonight. And the other one, which is on February 20th, it's going to be like a hands-on AI workshop or boot camp. So, and we are also setting up a AI hackathon. You will get to know about more details around it on our website or Slack or Discord. So all that is great, but we need more involvement. Like today, I have like so many people helping. It's like whole gang has been formed with volunteers, other community managers, and such. So how could you get involved? Well, you have different opportunities, different ways that you can get involved. You can come and talk to me or one of the AI camp folks here about, if you want to volunteer one of the events or you want to become a community manager or you want to sponsor the meetups because who wouldn't want good food and good drinks? And yeah, submit topics to give a talk for the next event, or now we have hands-on workshops too, so you can submit for that as well. The email address to send or contact us is on the screen, which is info@aicamp.ai. This colorful slide, which makes me so happy, these are all our clients and sponsors. Grateful for all of them. And this is not just cover the Americas, but it's like all over the globe. So I want to do a community shout out, a quick one. So if anybody is hiring, please raise your hands. If anybody is looking for a job, if anybody wants to do a project collaboration or looking for a co-founder, for instance, please raise your hand and I'll give a mic to them. Anyone, anyone, anyone?
Hi, everyone. This is Aftab. I'm based here in San Francisco. We're a pre-seed stage semiconductor, AI-powered semiconductor supply chain software as a service platform. So we're looking for a couple of founding engineers. Our MVP is almost done. We should have our MVP up and running by the end of this month. I've just posted the jobs on Discord and Slack as well. So please ping me if you're interested. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Anyone else? Up there.
Hi, my name is James Tandon. I'm with Cassia AI. We develop approximate arithmetic for AI chips. We are right now looking for founding engineers for CUDA and PyTorch and TensorFlow. So if you have these skills, I'd love to chat with you. Thanks.
Thank you. I have one more and then we'll move on.
Hey, everybody. I'm Josh. I'm the founder of Ox. And at Ox, we're building a generative AI platform for scaling coaching and last mile job training at work. And right now we are looking for founding machine learning engineers with expertise in RAG and building knowledge graphs. So if that's you, reach out.
Thank you. All right, so you see the QR codes here. Please scan them, join our community on either Slack or Discord. Huge thanks to our sponsors for tonight's event, GitHub for providing us such a beautiful office, AWS, Weaviate, and Soul Chains. By the way, what a great name for that company. Soul Machine, sorry, my bad. All right, so are you guys ready for the fun talks for this event? Awesome. Love this energy. So, yeah, let's invite our first speakers. We have Vivek and Deepam. If they can come to the podium, and let's get started.
I can see it here, but oh, yeah, I can see it. Okay. All right. Can everyone hear me? Okay. All right. So it's nice to see such a big gathering. Didn't expect, but yeah, it's good to meet you all today. I'm Vivek Gangasani. I'm a senior AI/ML solutions architect working a lot with generative AI startups. So what we do is we help startups who have an idea, help them gather GPUs, uh, build their model, train, fine tune, host, and also with go to market. So throughout this phases, we have seen a lot of startups, and we've learned some techniques that really work when it comes to hosting LLMs, right? So today I want to talk about some of the challenges that startups face or even enterprise face when they are looking to host these LLMs, and what frameworks or what techniques work best to get the best performance. So just by quick raise of hands, how many of you are like dealing with LLM deployments right now in production? Okay, okay, few, all right. So this talk is very high level, but me and Deepam will be around after the talk, and we also have our LinkedIn. You could feel free to connect, and yeah, just jump right in. Deepam, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Deepam Mishra. As Vivek said, I'll probably go after Vivek. I'm part of the business development team at startups, specifically dedicated for machine learning startups. And I want to give a little quick overview of, there's lots of startups I saw in the room, what specific business programs we have to help accelerate your journey, both from a technical and business point of view. So it's nice to see such a good crowd. So Vivek, carry on.
Okay, sounds good. So let's jump right in. So when it comes to challenges in hosting LLMs, the number one challenge is the memory requirements for these transformer-based models. So LLMs are pretty memory hungry, and they need high GPU memory to run and run inference mainly. So I'm focusing on inference today. So with higher GPU memory, your costs also will go up, and we all know that there is shortage of GPU right now. So we look at how to handle the challenges related to GPU memory requirements. And next is latency and throughput. So as you have your model, as you start to scale out, you build applications around it and scale out to like thousands of customers or millions of customers, throughput also becomes a challenge, because you want to be able to have your model process multiple parallel requests and do it in a low latency fashion. So let's see how what works to address these challenges. So first, let's look at the memory requirements of a model. If we take a look at the Llama 70B model, in FP32 format, it takes around 280 gigabytes. FP32 is floating point 32 bit. So each parameter takes around 4 bytes. So it's 280 gigabytes in size, just for the model itself. Apart from that, around 10 to 20 GB is required for the attention scores and storing the key value attention scores, which is basically when you send in an input sequence of text, attention scores are calculated for each token in relative to the other tokens and stored in a cache. So around 10 to 20 gigabytes is required for that. And the additional, there needs to be some additional to be able to load the model weights, do the processing, and all of that. So on average, if you look at Llama 70B, which is a very popular one, we are seeing a lot of customers have success with, it takes around 310 to 320 gigabytes to efficiently do inference. Now, that is good, but then having to be able to host 320 gigabytes on a single GPU memory is not possible, right? We have the H100s, which have around 80 gigabytes. And then I know that a new one is coming, which is like 150 or 160. But most of the GPUs, A10Gs, which a lot of customers use for inference, comes with 24 gigabytes. So how do you fit a 300 gigabyte model on these GPUs? The answer is tensor parallelism. So parallelism or tensor parallelism is sharding the model. You're breaking up the model into multiple layers and hosting it across GPUs. This works really well. So there are two types of sharding. One is tensor parallelism, where you split the layers like this horizontally, and each layer goes onto an accelerator, and they all work together when inference comes in. So you could parallelize your inference requests across if you're using tensor parallelism. The other one is pipeline parallelism, which is a good fit for training, but for inference, tensor parallelism is good. For pipeline, you're splitting the model across like multiple stages. So you're sending in data in a sequence. So training, it's good. For inference, tensor parallelism is the right fit, but which we see works in 99% of the cases, right? And then still, even with tensor parallelism, being able to host a 300 gigabyte model is again a challenge, right? Because you'll need many, many GPUs, and it's expensive for A, and for B, it's hard to get GPUs. So quantization is a pretty good technique. Quantization is basically splitting your model weights into half. So your precision will slightly be impacted, but like in 99% of the cases, we see customers are good with it, right? So it's still pretty performant. So we often suggest testing, but going from FP32 to BF16 or FP16 is pretty good, and it cuts the size of the model to 140 gigabytes. And then once you have it in 140 gigs, you can easily shard it across multiple GPU accelerators and be able to address the memory challenges that comes with hosting such a big model. Okay, and then there are multiple frameworks out there, frameworks to optimize the performance of the model during inference. Last year, quite a few libraries came out. Some of them are Hugging Face Accelerate, NVIDIA Faster Transformer, Deep Speed, and then just late last year, TensorRT LLM came out. So we've done pretty good benchmarking across all these libraries. And based on our tests, TensorRT LLM gives the best performance in terms of like throughput and latency. So basically how it does is the entire model graph, say for example, you download the Llama 70B model from Meta, and then you compile it with TensorRT LLM. So it will go through the entire model graph and then do optimizations throughout the entire process in the kernels for required to host the models. So there is a compilation steps involved, but you could either do pre-compile or you could do runtime compilation and then host it with TensorRT LLM. So that's the best one. Second comes Deep Speed from Microsoft. That's pretty good. It was top until TensorRT LLM came in. So Deep Speed, and we from SageMaker, AWS offer an additional performance improvement on top of Deep Speed from 10 to 15%. But yeah, if TensorRT LLM is the first, the second is Deep Speed, and you have Neuron there. Neuron is the SDK that we use for optimizing models to be able to run on AWS custom silicon called Inferentia and Trainium. So those are our alternatives for GPUs. So yeah, these accelerate the performance by injecting the CUDA kernels with some optimized versions that they have. So that's optimization. Compression, we have already looked. Even within quantization, there are multiple ways of quantizing the model. GPTQ from Hugging Face is popular. Bits and bytes is also popular. So you could use that. But if you use Deep Speed and TensorRT LLM, those do the quantization as well. So they come with their own libraries to do the quantization. So that's there. Model partitioning, the earlier slide I shared how you could split the model across multiple layers and host it. And then batching. Batching is also pretty important. I have next slides talking deep into batching. And then prompt engineering, of course, like if you have your prompts carefully crafted to generate the right amount of tokens, that would also give you good performance when you do careful prompt engineering. Okay. So why is batching important? To increase throughput. So what happens is when in a transformer-based architecture, you send a prompt to a model for inference, model server for inference. So for a single request that comes in, all the model weights needs to be loaded onto the GPUs, and the inference needs to be done for all the input sequence that came in, all the tokens needs to be generated, and then the response is sent back. And then as another request comes in, the same process is done again. So for each request that comes in, the GPU entire model weights are loaded onto the GPU and the processing is done. So to overcome that, batching is a good technique. So there again, within batching, there are multiple batching mechanisms. One is dynamic batching. So in dynamic batching, what happens is you bundle 3 requests. Now these do not need to be in a sequence, or you don't need to do any processing to put them together. You're just enabling the parameter to do batching when you're hosting on the model server. And as you send 3 requests, in this case 3 requests, but you could do more as well, they will be sent together for inference to the model. So what happens is the model weights will be loaded once, the inference will be done for the 3 requests that come in, and then the response is sent back, and then a new batch is taken in. So as you can see here, the loading of the model weights is reduced. So that significantly increases the throughput, or increases the number of parallel requests that you could serve. This is very important when you're scaling to a large number of customers. Now that's good. It gives four times increase in throughput. I'm sorry, 4x is not clear, but 4 times increase in throughput. But there are challenges as well, because if you have 3 requests, and each request, obviously every request will not be of the same size. So if you have one request that is still progressing on one of the GPU accelerators, and 2 and 3 requests was already processed, the entire other 2 GPUs will also remain idle, so that the entire requests in the batch are done before taking a new batch. So the problem here is that it's good, but you're not efficiently using all the GPUs at all times. So to address that, we have what is called continuous batching or rolling batching. So in this, it's similar to dynamic batching, except that as requests are being fulfilled, you're just queuing additional inference requests and sending it on a rolling basis. So you're not stopping at any point of time. You just keep sending as slots keep opening up. So this is good as well. You can control how many parallel requests you can send, or how many concurrency you can set up, how many requests you could have at a given time with continuous batching. But yeah, this has been pretty great, and it gives up to 20% increase in throughput. Okay, and then just recently, I mean last year, not very recently, but page attention has been gaining a lot of popularity. So this gives much more throughput than the continuous batching. So the idea here is that the attention matrices that are calculated are stored in a cache called KV cache. So the concept in paged attention is to efficiently manage that KV cache memory when you're calculating the attention scores of the input sequence. So the way this works is your KV cache is partitioned into multiple blocks and mapped to a physical storage using a table. And so whenever a paged attention kernel does computations, it will look up that middle table in the block table, look at where the actual key value pair is mapped to the physical block, pulls it up, and then uses that for computation. So the idea here is that for every computation, you don't need to do the input sequence calculations. You can save it in a physical storage and retrieve it as you need it, right? So there is a paper out there. The LLM is based on that. It goes too deep into how all this works, but we have seen that paged attention gives the highest throughput so far. Okay, so that addresses the throughput aspects of it. Now, I've given a lot of technical terms. Some audience here are technical, some are founders, some are in different stages, education background. So it's hard to try out all these libraries, try out the right configuration and see which one works for you. So what we have done is we've built these large model inference containers that run on SageMaker primarily. But these containers come with all the libraries that I've discussed earlier, and gives you a lot of flexibility on how you can deploy, how you can provide your configurations, what frameworks you need, and configure it. So just curious, how many of you are using AWS? Okay, that's a good number. How many of you are using SageMaker? Okay, still low. But SageMaker is like a managed platform we offer on AWS that we provide a lot of containers, scheduling mechanism, distributed libraries, and all of that. So yeah, we have these containers that comes with all of the libraries that I've mentioned earlier. So if you are if you're on AWS, you could just directly use these containers to get started. All you need to do is just provide a property file with what framework you need, what task you're doing, your tensor parallel degree, so that you can shard your model, how many copies of your model you need, and more number of copies for your model, the more throughput you'll be getting. So yeah, this is one way of implementing it. And then every month we do a lot of benchmarking. So just take a note, you can take pictures of this. This gives a high-level overview of what libraries are advanced, right? So you could use these LMIs, or you could just take this as a reference. If you want to try it on by yourself on EC2 or something, you could just download the open source version of, say, DeepSpeed or paged attention and do it. But the best container, the best performance is the TensorRT LLM, and it has all the quantization set up, all the rolling batching, and all of this comes as bundled along with it. So this is a comparison of the throughput and latency between DeepSpeed and TensorRT LLM that we've done. It again shows that the latency is lowest for the TRT LLM, and throughput is highest for the TRT LLM container. Okay, so this is my last slide. That went really quick. Key takeaways: use batching whenever you can, because that gives the highest throughput. Try to experiment with one or two model frameworks, DeepSpeed or TensorRT LLM. So if we met last year, I would have told a faster transformer, but then now it's TensorRT LLM. Use tensor parallelism to shard your model across multiple GPUs. And if you need a lot of throughput, have 2 copies of your model and then split between 2 models so that your throughput increases. You can serve more number of requests, and you could do them on the same instance. You could, if say for example, our P4D instance comes with 8 A100s, you could host 1 copy of model on 4 GPUs, another copy of the model on the other 4 GPUs with tensor parallelism degree 4. You could do that, and you could serve more number of requests. Flash attention is another popular way where you could optimize the attention KV values as well. Quantization is there, and inferential tranium are our custom silicon. So if you need really price performant, lower cost accelerators, inferential tranium are a good fit. They may not fit for all. They may not be a good fit for all in the models, but models like Llama, Mistral, we've benchmarked them. They are on par with like A10G NVIDIA chips. So yeah, with that, I think I am done. If you have any questions or want to dive deeper, we can sync up offline. And we have Deepam here to talk about some of the credit programs that we offer for startups. Go ahead.
Thank you, Vivek. Can you just open the other? So I'll take only a few minutes. I just wanted to add to what Vivek said. As I mentioned, I'm part of the business development team specifically focused on machine learning startups. And we try to provide business bespoke programs to help you in the journey to both build and, from a business perspective, scale your own businesses. My focus is startups. Just by raise of hands, how many of you are either in or considering a startup? Just if you can raise your hands, please. All right, so that's quite a few of you. And I'm going to ask you a couple of quick questions just for my own self, but also maybe for each of you to look around the room and see what is the current state of play. How many of you have been experimenting with I think Vivek asked the question with trying to bring LLMs into production, but feel that it's a challenge. And you think that you're overwhelmed with whether it's a technical a range of options or cost or anything else, just general challenges in bringing into production. So yeah, I think that's quite a few, and we try to look at the trends on what's happening in the market. I'll take it from here, Vivek. Yeah. That's fine. Thank you. So is this running? Okay. So that's my team. We look at what's likely, where the market is trending every year. We try to anticipate the challenges that the startups are facing. For example, this slide is saying the VC market and pressure for driving economics is going to be very high this year. I personally feel that the cost of large language models is going to be a continuous challenge for bringing these into production. And we try to see what kind of business support we can provide for helping startups with anticipating their challenges for this year. I won't go through some of this, but for example, cost optimization is a major initiative we are running. We're running lots of different programs for anybody who's doing anything from fine-tuning your own model or looking for just consulting on figuring out which model choices you should use, from model selection to deployment architectures, like Vivek was talking about. We provide support for all of that. We run several bespoke events, which I love to have, especially for the AI camp community. For example, last year we ran this, probably the industry's first generative AI startup accelerator, which was a highly successful program, several thousand of applicants. We actually got a few different unicorn startups came out of that within the year. So it was very successful. We offered a lot of financial support as well, 300K in grants, which we'll be doing again this year. But more important than the grants, I think we also provide a lot of technical handholding and support, because a lot of these tooling keeps changing a lot all the time. And how do we help you get there so without really taking your focus away from the business? So you can reach out to me if you are looking for what kinds of programs we have where you can both learn and probably get visibility. We run all the credit programs that you probably have heard of, the Activate program from AWS. Probably won't go through too much of that right now. I want to leave you with the kind of stuff that we in our business development team does to support startups at all different stages. We help provide, because a lot of times when I was a startup founder, I used to think of AWS as primarily a cloud provider, a technical platform for building, but there's actually lots of very useful business programs. It's a very startup-friendly environment. We look for working with you. So we do things like consulting, where we'll help with startup founder introductions, peer-to-peer introductions. You can learn from each other what best practices people are using. That's a very powerful practice. We provide various different programs, like I mentioned, and then through access through AWS to first customers, through go-to-market programs and so forth. So reach out to us if we can be of help in any of this. I will probably not take up too much time from the rest of the presenters, but we look forward to working with you and seeing we can build some good GenAI applications together. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivek. Thank you, Deepam. We have time for 3 questions. Okay.
I just have a quick question, not maybe about the content. I think these slides are great. I've been taking photos. I've seen other people taking photos. Are you going to be making them available to us or potentially emailing them?
I'm not sure. Maybe we can coordinate and or just ping me on LinkedIn. I can send them.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's so much content out there. Feel free to give us some feedback through the organizers or through other channels. What would be most useful? We can point you through them. And these are great slides. We have pretty much for every stage of your generative AI journey and every stage of what type of business you are, we can probably help point you to the specific content.
Okay, yeah. And these keep changing. Like this month, these are the greatest. Next month, we never know. Some things could change. So yeah. Any other questions?
2 more questions. Who is going to ask? Okay.
Hey guys, great presentation. I have a technical
Hey,
question.
I know you.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. I get a technical question, and if you can't answer it, we can take it offline. But I was just kind of curious, when you looked at the quantization, what correlation have you measured between the degree of quantization and then the decrease in accuracy in the models?
Yeah, I can't say in terms of numbers, but up to FP16, it doesn't, the accuracy doesn't come down that much. So like at least the customers I've interacted with, which is like at least 100, 150 startups, or even for enterprises, because we know we work with other AWS teams internally. FP16 is, you're pretty good. Int 8, still there is research going on. So yeah, something that needs to be checked. And things like smooth quant has been popular. Some quantizations, the way it works is it dequantizes during the inference time. So actual model weights are the same. You quantize it when the inference is done, and then you dequantize it when it's done. So yeah, FP16, you're good.
Awesome. One last question.
Great presentation, thank you. I have a question about like the accelerator program of AWS. I got a credit to use a computational power, about 25K, but I hesitate to use the support we have. I was wondering in what level we can reach out and your resources help us to kind of develop something like what you explained.
So is this question specifically for Accelerator? Are you saying what kinds of options for getting credits you can expect from AWS?
Either of them. Credit is something, but about the Accelerator, in what extent we can ask for help, and like if we can get here, get some in-person like help to come up with the first instance of LLM.
Sure. So Accelerator is one, but not the only program. I would also suggest that it's a very, very competitive program. And we were, despite our effort to try, we actually wanted to select only 10 just because of the sheer number of applications. Last year, we had several thousands. We actually extended the program to include 21. This year, we don't know, but it's still in the same order of magnitude. It'll be in the second quarter. Just stay tuned to the news. It'll be everywhere, so you won't miss it. But I would not discourage those. So there's two different things. One is being part of the accelerator for being officially in the accelerator itself. But then we also built a fairly large community of startups who we were helping each other or learning from each other. I think that's something we can certainly help attract more. And then there are lots of other credit and support programs. It's probably, we don't have enough time today, but if you want to reach out to me afterwards or on LinkedIn, we can help point you to that. And this is obviously going to be a big focus this year. We'll continue to drive that. So thank you for the question.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vivek. Thanks, Deepam. All right, next up, we have Adam Chan from Weaviate. He came prepared.
You are. Thank you so much.
No problem. You're welcome.
I only have one of these.
Okay.
Okay, this mic is awesome. Anybody used a continuity camera on the iPhone before? Oh, okay. I'm gonna give you all a nice feature of Apple that has been transformative for me. Yes, allow. Okay. It's a little bit blurry up there, but it's okay. How's everyone doing tonight? Good? It's Tuesday. It is Tuesday. Okay. Oh, did you say it's Wednesday or Tuesday?
Are you time traveling, Adam?
What's that?
Are you time traveling to the past? It's Wednesday today. Come on.
I wish I could take back some time and do Tuesday over again. Okay, so I'm going to start this timer so that I know I'll hit 30 minutes and take up all the possible time. I have this here because I'm going to do something real quick, but before I do anything, I just have this important thing to do. So I found this model on Thingiverse. It's like this 3D printable file, and let me start this too. Record the entire display. This wasn't working. Stop. Try to do this. Okay, so I have this, saw this file up here a moment ago. Oh, by the way, this is continuity camera. So it'll take the feed from my iPhone and then jam it up here, and it's kind of cool. Okay, so I'll start the display recording, and now I have like a video feed of this and my screen going at the same time. So before we get started, I have this GitHub logo that I found online. It looks really cool, and I really want to print it. So I downloaded the print file, and I threw it onto the slicer software, and I sliced it just a moment ago. So I have the slice over here, right down here. And what I'm going to do is throw it up onto my printer, which I am wirelessly connected to my network. And we're just going to do this. It should take about 30 minutes to print, so we'll see how far it gets in our talk. And if it finishes, then it's a win. Okay, and also, wow. Actually, Home Assistant can do this for us. Welcome to my house. This is a live stream camera of the print, and we'll be able to watch it. I will check back every couple seconds, and then this is a third view, like a third perspective view of the whole thing. Okay, now that we have this out of the way, let's get started. Let me change the arrangement. I want to not mirror. I want this to be an extension. Okay, great. And then we're going to adjust. All right. And let me get my slides up there. Take this. Okay, I have some other windows that I should bring in there too. One. That's about it. Okay, now for real. I've taken up about 10 minutes of my talk, so let's actually get started with this. I hope everyone's doing well. Before we really kick things off, I want to just give a quick round of applause to the previous speaker and also the community members from AI Camp. So let's do this because what they've put up here is amazing, and it's so consistently high quality, and I'm really thankful for this community. So thank you. All right, so my name is Adam, and I'm a developer advocate at Weaviate. And what that means is I build out samples and try to get other developers to build out interesting applications for enterprise use cases in their production environments. So I want to get to know you a little bit better. Audience engagement is super important for me, and I just want to have a better understanding of who I'm talking to. And we got a little bit of that earlier, so I'm really thankful from Deepam for asking some of those questions. Let's do some more. I'll have some questions now and some more later. We can call it audience speed dating. So raise your hand if you're left-handed. Okay, I see a handful of y'all. Raise your hand if you're a software engineer. Awesome, a big chunk, maybe 30 or 40%. How many of you work in sales? Super cool. Maybe 5 to 10%. In product, any product designers, product managers, super cool. And anything in between? Okay, yeah. Raise your hand if you're here at GitHub tonight. Okay, I see some of you not raising your hands. Okay, and raise your hand if you like Lego and you like Indiana Jones. Nice. Okay, so I got this Lego raffle set that we're going to give out today, and it would be great if you want to join in on this raffle. Just scan this QR code right now. I'll pause for 20 seconds to give you the opportunity to win a wicked cool Indiana Jones Lego set. So put this here just to taunt. And we can come on over here. I'll see this number go up. Or not. Okay, we got 3. It's going to be easy winnings today. Yep. Oh, I can see right here too. This is awesome.
Adam, next time you should bring Star Wars Lego as well.
Tip taken. I will make sure we do this. Star Wars fans? Indiana Jones fans? Okay. I've learned my lesson. Nice. Okay, wow. There's 55 of you who have taken the rings to try and win. We'll do this at the end of the talk if there's still time. Okay, so who's familiar with the term vector database? I see a lot of hands, and I think it's because there's like 1 billion vector databases on the market. Who works at a database company? Okay, not too many of you actually, so not too many competitors here with us tonight. So yes, vector databases have kind of become this very interesting space in the AI and LLM infrastructure. A16Z described vector databases to be a core part of emerging LLM applications sometime in June last year, and they released a really interesting article. If you just search emerging LLM architectures, you'll find this article by A16Z, and it describes in quite a lot of detail about what you can do with vector databases and how you can think about them. I found that to be personally very educational. Now, Weaviate is an open source vector database, and we've been doing this since 2016. Our GitHub repository has been around since that year, and we became a company in 2019. We started integrating with large language models at the time, which included OpenAI large language models. And so we have like these deep integrations that bring the vector database much closer to the language model, which gives you greater control of what you can retrieve and what you can extract. Also, the open source vector database gives you a lot of ability and kind of knobs to turn in order to tweak the results that you're getting from your search queries. So we've been doing this well before ChatGPT became a thing. And when ChatGPT did become popular, we actually saw a huge uptick in the number of users on Weaviate. And also, we also saw tons of vector databases come into the market, which of course is totally natural. There's a lot of money in the space, and it's pushing up the economy, and there's just tons of innovation to happen right now. So vector databases are really hot. What can we use vector databases for? This includes product recommendations, massive data search, discovery, product discovery, e-commerce results, targeted marketing, and more. And if we have time, I'll show double demos at the end. And I'll try to get through my content quicker so that I can land in the time span. Okay. So vector databases, use cases. We talk about RAG, or retrieval augmented generation, a mechanism by which you can retrieve data to augment your inference with your language model. This can actually save a lot of cost, because if you cache your results and you take data from your own vector database, it means you might not be needing to fine-tune your own models, in which case you can just take advantage of the models that are already there. Fine-tuning is a very costly thing to do in the first place. You need lots and lots of data, and it needs to be well formatted. So vector databases could get you maybe 80% of the way there with more than 80% cost reduction, which is huge. Multimodal similarity search, which means that you can look across different modalities of data. So if you have, for example, the sound of a lion and images of a lion, those vectors can be represented in similar vector space. And so if you have the sound, you can use that sound as the query to pull up images of a lion. And this allows you to make large language models stateful, makes recommendation systems incredibly easy to build, and of course, chatbots are pretty easy to build as well. So let's jump quickly into how vector databases, and specifically Weaviate, is being used today. In the enterprise, it's being heavily used for search queries on both structured and unstructured data. And we pair really well with tools like unstructured, which allows you to look at PDFs and extract data from tabulated PDF formats. So we're entirely open source, and what that means is that you can deploy us entirely in your own infrastructure in whatever way you really want. We support Docker Compose. When we generate PRs, we automatically generate new Docker images. We also have Kubernetes Helm charts. You can run us as an embedded database if you're just prototyping with the tool. And we also support like Weaviate cloud services. So if you don't want to run and manage your own vector database, you can actually use our own cloud instance. I'll just open it up real quick right here. WCS. Nope, that's not WCS. And that's not actually, oh, this is. So this is Weaviate cloud services. You have to log in order to see anything. Let's see, here we go. So if you register for this, you can get a sandbox for 14 days, and it's entirely free to use for 14 days, at which time, if you like what you're getting, you can move over to a paid cluster and then migrate your data as well. So totally easy option to get started, and it's super quick to spin up a new sandbox, and you don't need a credit card to do that, so big win. I was just talking about chatbots. We actually have a first-party chatbot called Verba. And we didn't train, we took all of our documentation, all of our blog posts, all of our video transcripts, and we transcribed so that all the multimedia formats into text, and we chunked all the text and stored them in the vector database as embeddings, which allowed us to do queries over our data. So you can ask all sorts of questions to Verba, which are tied to Weaviate as a product. So let's do a quick one. I want to run Weaviate embedded. How would I do that? And there's that. Okay, so on the right, you actually see the source of the data, and this allows you to ground your results in truth. So with large language models, oftentimes we see hallucination as a problem of like just interacting with the language model. With a vector database, you can ground your results in truth. And so when you see the results, you can actually identify where they came from and then say, this is why what we're generating here is true. So let's take a quick look at this. Pip install the Weaviate client, that's right. Step 2, we import OS, import Weaviate. We create these embedded options within Weaviate embedded options. We pass in these additional headers, which could include an OpenAI API key. And then we throw these embedded options and the additional headers into a Weaviate client. And what we get back is a client instance that you can interact with in your code. Now, if you run this will actually download the Weaviate binaries and have them running right on your machine. This is not a good way, obviously, to deploy to production, but it is a good way to get started prototyping. You'll build out all your tools, and then you can migrate into the cloud, whether you're using WCS or whether you're using your own deployed instance. That's totally up to you. And if you deploy it yourself on your own infrastructure using Docker Compose or Kubernetes, it's free. All you pay for is your own compute, and that's the beauty of open source. My sales team will hate me for saying this. Okay, that's Weaviate embedded. This is Verba. Verba is entirely open sourced, so if you GitHub Verba, if you want to clone this and run this locally on your machine and load in your own data, you can do that. We've got a healthy community of like 1,700 stars following this thing. I'm not signed in here, so you're not seeing me start. I promise you I've started. But yeah, you can clone this and then load in your own data. The tool has lots of user interface elements that help you load in data. So we will tell you what type of loader you're using, what type of embedder, and what type of chunking mechanism. And then you can pass in PDFs, you can pass in text, and you can use the CLI also to do the same things. As part of this, as part of Verba, you also get the ability to specify a different type of retrieval mechanism from the vector database, and also specify which language model. So built into Verba, we actually are using GPT-4, but also you can use Llama 2 that's running locally, or using a Cohere integration that we have to Cohere's language models as well. You just need to pass in the API key in order to do that. Okay, now back to the slides. So chatbots are really powerful, and we've been building all kinds of chatbots on top of vector databases, on top of Weaviate specifically, and we've been able to prove a lot of value out for us. A lot of our users are actually interacting with Verba to learn how to use Weaviate as a product, and it's actually pretty incredible to see what people are doing with it. And e-commerce is obviously a great way to use, a great use case for us, because with vector databases, you can do like semantic search, which allows you to find relevant items from your queries. So if you find your users are searching for specific terms you can actually take a history of these terms as a search query to pull up new products that are stored in the vector database. Obviously, in this case, you'd be dealing with structured data. You can load in kind of like objects at a time, large objects at a time, and you can extract these out through semantic search. Where is my slide? So what can you build with with Weaviate? So Stack Overflow is actually using Weaviate today. When you search into their search input box, it's actually pulling up a vector against your query and then looking up a bunch of results from Weaviate vector database in order to show you results on the Stack Overflow side. We have a large blog about this. If you're curious about how it's being done, Overflow Weaviate blog. If you're curious about this, you can check out that blog post right here. Ask like a human implementing semantic search on Stack Overflow. So search queries like this, they're using Weaviate for semantic and hybrid search, and it's deployed on their own infrastructure, and they're managing it entirely. Health search is another awesome tool that allows you to kind of interact with products. Actually, I'll show you quickly this one. I have this over here, and we can, while we're here, we can just take a quick look at this 3D print. Nice, check it out. Oh yeah, I can totally see it. Okay, health search. I don't have the tab open, so we'll open it here, health search. So health search actually implements many different technologies under the hood. Now, this is not medical advice, so please don't take this as medical advice. This is all nutritional supplements, but health search effectively takes your input and is applying spacey natural language processing in order to understand what you're referring to. So I want to just search for one of the examples. Let's see, products for sleep from the Now Foods brand. I'm a big fan of sleep, and this will help me find products for Now Foods. And what this is doing is it's generating a query after using natural language processing from spacey in order to understand the brands, understand health ailments that you're trying to query under, and it'll generate a Weaviate GraphQL query. So we can see we're looking for a hybrid search result, and we're looking for items from a brand called Now Foods, and these are the results that come out. Now, what's really interesting here is that these summaries down here are actually generated summaries using Weaviate's generative search module in order to summarize all of the reviews from customers. So you can see what this person is saying. The product is excellent for falling asleep easier. It is important to note that the doses in these capsules are higher than necessary for optimal use. So I'll just click one of these, and what you should see over here are all the reviews that were embedded, and then using Weaviate generative search module, we're able to create summarizations over the relevant reviews for the specific product. Pretty cool feature. And this is Magic Chat. Any Magic the Gathering fans in the room? Nice. So we built this. You can actually Google this. I'm not going to Google it right now, but if you pull this up, you can search for like specific types of cards and specific colors, and it'll pull them up and give you recommendations as to how you can level up your Magic the Gathering game. And of course, Verba, which I just showed you a moment ago. So how do you build an AI app? There's tons of different products and tools, and this becomes a little bit of a challenge because there's so many different tools in the ecosystem. As we heard earlier, like the tools are changing every day, best practices are changing regularly. A week in the AI space is considered a really long time. But one of the things that we are pretty proud of is the integrations that we have with tools in the ecosystem. And so right within Weaviate, when you deploy us, you can actually turn on specific modules in your Weaviate instance. And these modules will allow you to connect deeper with large language models hosted at different providers. We also integrate with Llama Index and LangChain. And also we have connections with Amazon language models and Google language models as well. And so you can connect us with all sort of tools, and it makes kind of the developer experience better. Weaviate itself is pretty custom and modular, which allows, as I mentioned, allows you to do, we have these modules that allow you to do generative search. And these modules can be integrated embedding modules. Basically, if you just pass in a JSON blob and specify which attributes in that JSON blob to vectorize, if you have this module turned on, it'll automatically vectorize that data, and you don't have to worry about bringing your own vectors. Obviously, we support bringing your own vectors, but that's entirely up to you. We want to give you, the developer, all of the flexibility. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to jump over here and just talk a little bit about my manager. So my manager is pretty incredible. He pushes for like top quality ideas and supports the team in endeavors that we really want. And the only requirement is that we deliver. And I have these hidden here on my team because some of them don't want their faces online. So just to preserve the privacy, delivering is the key thing that my manager really cares about. And so when my manager told me to analyze why others are so successful on social media, specifically Twitter, I asked him, like, what do you think we can do? He's like, well, you can look at like the next 1,000 tweets from this channel and see why they're so good. And I was like, no, this is an untenable solution and untenable work to do. So I came up with an idea with my teammate Erica, and we came up with a framework of thinking that allowed us to become more consistent in our reviews and also be more consistent in our reviews, be more quantitative, and still be qualitative with what we're seeing, but we wanted to generate graphs as to how these different social media platforms, different channels on social media platforms like Twitter are using it. So is LangChain, who we're a big fan of, is LangChain creating more content about announcements of new features? Are they creating content around like celebrations of anniversaries or engaging with the developer community? These are the things we wanted to figure out. So we built a tool that started out as a command line interface. You pass in a Twitter user, a start date, and an end date. You then pass control over to Selenium WebDriver that starts to, it goes to a search query for that specific user between those dates. And we start scraping the web page and taking screenshots. And then from here, we store the images onto some kind of bucket storage. We chose byte scale. And then we started doing analysis over the data. So we took in images and we generated text. We asked questions like, categorize this as an announcement, or categorize this as a feature request, categorize this as educational content, etc. We passed this into OpenAI using the JSON mode flag, which allowed us to get nice organized data of our analysis. And then we generated embeddings. We stored them in Weaviate, and then we made a nice Next.js app in order to actually see this in real time. So what I'm going to do is pull this thing up here, and let's try running this quick command line interface, which is extract sh. We pass in the Twitter user and two dates, an end date and a start date. So if we go, wow. Thank you. Nope. Oh, I see. rm-rf Weaviate. Boom. Okay, and what this should happen now is a Chrome WebDriver will spin up, which it did right here. It'll start taking screenshots of these images, and I didn't like this. I have to, I have to like the tweets from my company because it's important to me. And so we take screenshots, as I mentioned, and we're passing these into a vision model in order to understand what's going on. That was a beautiful tweet, and I also didn't like it. I'm ashamed. Okay, so we found all the tweets, and now we're generating these, we're passing these into a language model, which we're not gonna do right now because that's gonna take time, and I only have 2 minutes left. And so what we're gonna do is, I'll show you what the output looks like. Sure, that's fine. So these are the screenshots that are taken from the tool. We're using PyAuto GUI in order to grab these screenshots from the page. We look at the DOM, find the size, grab them, drop them in the disk, and then throw them to the cloud. And then we generate this all data CSV, which contains the link to the image, et cetera. But then after the pipeline of analysis, we get a beautiful JSON file, which shows us, all this JSON data is coming out of OpenAI's JSON mode flag from some, I think it's GPT-4 that I've chosen. And specifically, we have these category analysis down here. And so from here, if you load all this stuff using one of these CSVs into Google Slides, we actually get some beautiful slides that look like this. So this is LangChain and from March, and they have a ton of data. And let's see, analysis by, if I go up here, do I have it? Okay, so yeah. So we can see that in terms of like a categorization of their tweets, a lot of them go towards community feedback, announcements, and feature info. And I think this makes a lot of sense because oftentimes we use social media as a platform to get the word out about what our product is able to do. And sharing new features is a great way to show, increase adoption. And if you can increase adoption, you can show that it's actually creating some momentum for your product. And this is a good thing overall. And so then we wanted to analyze by engagement different categories. And we can see, for example, new releases is a really big one. New releases gets a lot of likes. In terms of comments, event information actually gets a lot of engagement. And so does tips and tricks. And in terms of retweets, event information wins again. And this kind of makes sense. Oftentimes, like if you see an event like this AI Camp meetup, then you want to get the word out to your friends and have your friends come with you. And this kind of naturally reflects that too. And so we use this to kind of understand what our, how we can tweak our own social media strategy. And what we ended up with was a tool that looks like this. So this is called social search. And we can search something like RAG, for example. And when you pull up the RAG results, what we end up getting is a bunch of tweets that comment about retrieval augmented generation. And this is using Weaviate under the hood in order to do this semantic search. It's doing a hybrid search of both keyword, but more heavily weighted on the semantic results or the vector query. And you have the ability to tweak how much weight you want to apply to your vector search query versus the keyword BM25 search query. And so if you click one, we can take a little bit more of a deeper look at it. This is educational content. Here's some context about the tweet. And here is the tweet itself. So this actually helped us a lot. And we learned a lot about social media in general. We're a big fan of Langchain and Harrison. Is he here? Okay. So if you're interested in building a tool like this, I actually have this example open sourced. You can get it on Vercel as a starter pack. You can also get it on GitHub over here. And this is just a standard Next.js application that is using Tailwind to style it. Okay, so I think I have 3.5 minutes, but I also have one other demo, or I can answer questions. I'll leave it up to you if you want to see another demo or if you want to ask a question. Demo hands? Question hands? Okay, I think I saw more hands for demos. So we're gonna, is it cool? Okay. So this is called RagSend. And the idea behind RagSend is that it's a tool to help enterprises do marketing better. And for example, we oftentimes, this tool is actually built on the hospitality industry. And the idea is that you might get some analytics that show users are actually searching for private infinity pools or gyms at hotels in certain times of the year more than others. And you can do this with some automation. So if you understand what your users are doing at a very high degree of calibration, then you can say this user will get one targeted email and another user will get another targeted email that is grounded in real world data that you can extract from the vector database. So the long-term vision behind this idea is that it will automate the creativity of generating emails. It is data-driven and plugged into your own analytics tool. And we plug into like HubSpot and MailChimp and other kind of email providers. Okay, so I want to quickly just show you the hotels that are on the platform. We have many of these, like Fairview Hotel, Twin Peaks Hotel. These are all fictitious and generated with language models and diffusion models for the image, which you'll see right here. Look how nice this hotel looks. Of course, this is a developer tool to show you how you can build interesting applications like it. So I show the JSON, I also show all the data down here. But the really interesting thing is this campaigns tab, which outlines like what RAG is and how you can build RAG applications too. And I explained that this RAG generation is going to write a short paragraph about this hotel. Here's some details about it, and we're going to fit this into a marketing email featuring the hotel. So as I mentioned, let's say your next vacation with a private pool. And we're going to select private pools, private infinity pools, and we'll click RAG. This does a query over the data. And once we find the hotels that fit this vector query, we actually generate an email that outlines what you can do at this hotel and why it's cool for you to stay at it as someone who likes infinity pools or whatever. So experience luxury and tranquility at Twin Peaks Hotel. Imagine getting this at your email before you even search for infinity pools in the wintertime. And then, of course, you can send yourself this email. The last thing that I want to show you here is this idea of generative feedback loops. And this is kind of this new idea behind how you can use vector databases. So using RAG, we've been able to extract data from put data into the vector database, and you can do recommendation systems. But with Weaviate, you can actually take the generations that we create using the generative search module, and then be able to feed that data back into your vector database to create more interactable content. So by doing this, we're actually generating a base query and identifying whether we like the results. If we like the results, we can apply the feedback loop against all the data in the database. Obviously, you don't want to open this up to all users in the world because they could create some malicious content. But if you do this in a controlled capacity where you're evaluating the responses that you're getting and making sure that they're high quality, you can actually generate all kinds of really, really great results that will augment your next set of generations, next generation generations, or next generation inferences to be even higher quality and even more interactable. So this allows you to do queries like, why is the following good for someone who likes to walk their dog, or someone who likes to go to the gym, etc. I'm not going to. Oh, there it is. It's done. Let's see what it gives us. So we didn't have a description before, but what this applied was applied the generative search results into the descriptions, and so now you can ask questions like this. So what does this say? This is a good listing for someone walking the dog because it mentions prime location of the hotel across from the street from the Ferry Building Marketplace. Well, that's that. And I hope you all enjoyed my talk. These are my demos. If you're interested in learning more or getting in touch with me, I'm always around. So thank you so much for the time, and I hope you enjoyed this.
Thank you, Adam. That was a great presentation.
Thank you, Sonam.
Yep. Hope you guys are enjoying the talks so far. And next up, the last talk for the event, we have Alex Perkins from Soul Machines. This time I made sure I said the name right.
Who won the Indiana Jones Legos?
True. If we have at the end of this, after your talk,
Okay.
I'll do the raffle up on stage
Sounds
and we can
good.
all see it together.
Okay.
Sound good?
That sounds great.
But I'll keep this up here. Dan. Do you want me to take it out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless you want me to be the one to hand it off, that's okay.
You can do it if you're one-on-one.
Okay. Well, it'll be joint present. That sounds great. Here we go. What's that? Oh. Not share. Oops. Hello. There are a lot more of you from this view than when I was sitting over there. So can you guys hear me okay? Cool. My name is Alex Perkins. I'm a technical CSM at a company called Soul Machines. Soul Machines is a startup based out of New Zealand. We've been around for, I want to say 6 years in the digital avatar space. My talk is about integrating digital avatars with generative AI and just some of the applications of that and some of the considerations, the deployment considerations that you take into effect. So it's nice to see you all. I do not have my own Legos to give out. If I come back, I think I might need to steal that idea because I like Legos. And I was actually wondering if I should have a prize. So that's what's cataloged in the brain for next time. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about creating dynamic interactive avatars and connecting them and utilizing generative AI for all sorts of applications. First, we're going to talk about why digital people. We're going to look a little bit at just kind of the architecture or just the design of how you would incorporate the different components that would go into building a customer experience that features generative AI and digital people. And then we'll talk a little bit about just some of the ways that you can launch quickly into it. This QR code offers a, I want to say, what is it? 1 month free trial for our platform, Digital DNA Studio. I'll put the QR code back up at the very end if any of you are interested, or just talk to me. Developer 24. I think we can remember that. Okay. Without further ado, let's launch. Oh, I'm also joined today by my VP of Customer Success, Veronica Maxim. She's sitting over there. And my creative director, Rick Navarde. He is sitting next to Veronica. If you have any complaints at the end, please feel free to email Veronica. Why digital people? So, problem. Generative AI conversation experiences are lacking a human-oriented interface that tailors their interactions with customers. We've all experienced this to a degree. Pretty much ubiquitously, the way you interact with these generative AI experiences is through chat interface, which is great in development applications, but a lot of times in customer-facing applications is just suboptimal. And so one of the solutions that we're thinking of and really investing heavily into is the idea of hyper-realistic, autonomously animated digital people. Thinking of digital people as, or digital avatars, really whatever you want to call them, as the front-end layer that sits on top of the large language model generative AI experience. I was going to start a timer. Should probably do that because I like to talk. There we go. Cool. Let's talk about some just key benefits. So when we're talking about digital people, one of the things that really stands out when people interact with these experiences is that they're pretty unique. They stand out for the non-technical crowd or like the non-technical applications that people are applying these technologies to. And they can really quickly create a very distinctive brand experience for the companies that are utilizing them. Oftentimes, what's really important is that a lot of the developers that are coming in to build these generative AI experiences need plug-and-play integrations with the various services that they're using for facilitating maybe chat-type interactions in the beginning. So historically for us, that's looked like third-party natural language providers like Google Dialogflow, Amazon Lex, IBM Watson, Core AI. I mean, there's dozens to hundreds. One of the other benefits is that you quickly create something that's very immersive and rich for customers. That creates something that's, again, it's a very distinctive brand experience. And then lastly, it's scalable in a way that regular human interaction is not. A digital person is always available 24/7, and especially if that's an entry point that's important to you for your customers, they scale. They scale really well. Okay. Just talking a little bit about some that are out there in the real world right now. One that I really like, that's really cool, and I think dovetails well with what we're seeing today, is Morningstar. Morningstar, of course, is a financial advising firm, or a financial advice investment firm. Morningstar came to us and wanted to build a digital person that was trained on something like 30 years of financial prospectus data on different companies. And so what they do is they go to different investor events and they'll bring a kiosk with the digital person, and it's trained on, like I said, 30 years of financial prospectus. You can go up to the digital person and say, tell me about Berkshire Hathaway performance from 1994 to 1995. And the digital person just does it. Another cool one that we're seeing that's actually rolling out right now is a bank in Mexico called Banorte. I believe they're the largest bank in Mexico for consumer users. They just rolled out a digital person who serves as like a kiosk at an entryway for their branches. They opened up one in Mexico City just a few days ago, actually. We've also had like a travel concierge at Dallas-Fort Worth Airport, a memberships advisor for CAA, like if you have AAA in America. CAA is the Canadian version of that, which is why it's called CAA and not AAA. And yeah, you can go on to CAA's website and have a conversation with the digital person about their different membership tiers. And what they found is that by having that digital person there, that replaced a lot of the conversations that they were receiving in for membership upgrading and whatnot. And they saw something like a $500,000 lift in revenue just on that page alone from having this digital avatar experience. So just talking a little bit about kind of what the philosophy is behind digital people in terms of where they fit in the stack. Let's just do a quick overview, and then I will get into the platform, I promise. So at the heart of it is the user at the very beginning here. The user provides an interaction through our to the digital person. The digital person can be deployed in many ways, but it's always through a browser, primarily. And through speech to text capturing, that text is then sent to whatever conversational backend that you've provided. The conversational backend would be something like a traditional third-party NLP. Those are things like Dialogflow, things like VoiceFlow, Core AI, Amazon Lex. There's like I said, dozens. Or more recently, and where things have gotten really spicy, is with generative AI. And we, at this time, have a native integration with OpenAI as well, but it would not end there. We have the ability to integrate with any RESTful API at this point. And what that does is that, that response is processed, it's sent through our digital brain and then back to the avatar. The digital brain is the secret sauce that makes the digital person actually take the text that's sent and, lip syncs, emotes, moves in space appropriately, similar to how a real human would. And then that through just text-to-speech services, gets vocalized to the user. And I'll send all these slides up too with the team. And so, yeah, we're going to walk through a little bit about how you would actually configure these and get one up and running really quickly. And I think really my main objective would just be that, like, if you guys have a use case for a digital person that you're thinking of, being able to quickly log in and build it and just see what's possible. Cool. And yeah, we have the ability to launch something that's very comprehensive quickly just with our generative-based conversations as well. So without belaboring the point further, I think let's get into Digital DNA Studio. Oh, we're doing great. 18 minutes left. I should slow down. All right. So we are in our flagship platform, which is called Digital DNA Studio, or DDNA Studio. This is where you would build and modify the properties of what we would call a project. A project is the accumulation of all the information that facilitates a digital person experience. And within Studio, you can create the actual avatar itself or customize avatars themselves. This is really powerful for creating very brand-centric experiences. And then also creating the project, which you would then use to facilitate the deployment out into the world. So let's just say I am working for GitHub. Does anyone here work for GitHub? Anyone? No? That's okay. We've all, oh, hey, there's one person. Let's say I want to build a brand ambassador for GitHub. I think the name Gary is fitting. We'll call him GitHub Gary. Okay. And I can go within Digital DNA Studio. I'm presented the ability to customize and create a digital avatar. And we have what is called a blender tool, or we call it the blender tool. It's where you can blend a unique combination of phenotypes to create just a digital person that's hyper realistic and autonomously animating. And so you can see, I mean, I would encourage any of you guys to get into the platform, but we have the ability to modify things like face structure, eye color and shape. We'll give Gary gray eyes here, bluish gray, very nice. Go through, there's, the best way to really, I don't want to get too into the weeds on actually experimenting with what the person looks like, because actually that's just something that is best when you guys get into the platform and do it yourself. But you can change things like mouth shape, shape of the head, so the part actually behind the face, hairstyles. We have a variety of hairstyles that you can give to your digital people, skin tones and textures, different levels of makeup and intensity. And when you're creating these brand experiences, something that we find is really powerful is being able to alter the clothing on the digital person. So in this case, I've got a t-shirt. Rick was kind enough to bestow on me a very special GitHub shirt. Thank you, Rick. Just got to upload. There we go. Oh yeah, that's nice. Okay. And we'll do a custom background as well. Again, this really helps with just the feeling of immersion that your potential users, if they're going to interact with a digital person, actually like setting the stage for something that feels really interactive. Okay. Gary's in an office that looks somewhat similar to this one, maybe not quite as snazzy as this one. He's got a nice custom shirt. We can finalize Gary, give him a name. I'll call him Gary V3. As it turns out, Gary has he's third iteration. I've maybe done this before. We'll see. Okay, and that's it. I mean, what you find is that really quickly you can go through and within, I mean, that was what, maybe 5 minutes of tinkering around. Just with some customization of clothing, background, you can create something that's very unique to your guys' brands. Okay, so we've created a digital avatar. That version of Gary will take a little bit to become available to our video servers. It takes about half an hour for them to render and become globally available, but not to fret. Gary V2 will save the day for us. And we're gonna create a new project. This is where the proverbial sausage gets made of actually making these experiences interactive and really where the generative AI component comes in. Okay, so project name. What you do is going through this, we're just gonna create something that we're gonna be able to test out live. We're gonna call this project Gary for GitHub. Thank you all. Okay, here's Gary V2, here to save the day. It'll take a little bit to get him uploaded in the preview. And what I really want to focus on now is, okay, so we have a digital person who has the look and feel that we're looking for. How do we actually get it to say what we want and be an accurate representation of what we're looking for? So what we can do is specify what knowledge we're assigning to the digital person. And in this case, I'm going to show you guys what it looks like when we use our native OpenAI, ChatGPT integration. But this can be done with, like I said, any number of conversational providers. So we can give him our name, GitHub Gary. We're going to say that he is a developer advocate for GitHub. His personality is knowledgeable. Oh, that was not a good word for me to say that I should type in front of all of you. Smart. He's smart. He's nerdy. He's friendly. Okay. And what we can find is that in our, just in our native integration with this, but again, this is possible just for any custom integration you guys make to any third-party LLM. Sorry about that. Is that you can provide some additional pre-prompting to the digital person. This gets really powerful really quickly because this, in essence, creates a pre-connection to the session that is going to provide all the context. So a lot of the ways that you would say, hey, you just use plain language to say you are a developer advocate for GitHub. Your job is to make developers feel great about using GitHub. Okay. So additional prompting is a way that we can actually precede the conversation, precede the user with the personality, the helpfulness, the role, if you will, of the digital person. You can also provide some other limitations, just like keep your responses brief, no more than 3 sentences. Knowledge snippets. This is where we're incorporating RAG effectively into the pre-prompting that goes into the conversation. So knowledge snippets can be anything like Alex Perkins is a technical CSM at Soul Machines. Okay, or even providing full URLs. So you can pre-prompt the conversation with context knowledge URLs. For example, maybe you guys have a product features page. Throw the product features page into this section. We'll scrape it, precede it into the conversation and convert that into optimized conversation content. Okay, when's wipe fell? There we go. In addition, you can specify like what your users are going to get welcomed with. Say like, hi, I'm GitHub Gary. Nice to meet you. Don't talk about, well, if he's GitHub Gary, he probably is not going to talk about GitLab. Drugs, Nazis, the usual, the works. The OpenAI safety filter also helps to filter this out. Again, these are things that you'd be in control of. And yeah, what we find is that just through some additional prompting, just in the interest of time, I think we should just start trying this out. Through some additional prompting, we can create an experience that is fairly comprehensive. This one's going to be straightforward, but I think it'll capture the point. So what does this look like? We've captured the, oh, I did not change the voice. No, Gary needs a male voice. We'll go back real quick. Okay, language and voice. We do have language and voice settings from 3 different speech or text-to-speech providers, Microsoft, Google, and Amazon. Okay. I didn't test this one out beforehand. We'll see how good it looks or sounds with Gary's voice here. So what we've done, just to recap, we've designed a custom digital person. We've put some branding assets on him. We have set the context for a conversation for the digital person. And now, just through a simple browser session, we can interact through the microphone and camera and start having a conversation with GitHub Gary.
Hi, I'm GitHub Gary. Nice to meet you.
Hey, Gary, what's your role?
Hey there. I'm GitHub Gary, a developer advocate for GitHub. My role is to help developers like you make the most out of GitHub by providing support, resources, and promoting best practices. I'm here to make your GitHub experience awesome.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to mute myself because this will pick up just anything from the microphone. But yeah, at this point, what we have right now is just a pre-prompted, pre-seeded, OpenAI conversation in this case. But I want to talk to you that we do also have a custom skills API that would now allow you to start integrating some of your own third-party LLMs as well if you guys are doing something maybe not inside of OpenAI. Or additionally, like a lot of these third-party NLP providers, especially from the big firms, have a lot of their native integrations through their conversational AI into their generative AI platforms. So for example, a lot of our users right now are connecting Dialogflow, specifically Dialogflow CX, to Vertex AI for Google. They're indexing, huge swaths of documents. So for example, like that Morningstar one, huge terabytes of documents into Vertex AI, indexing it, and being able to do, what amounts to RAG conversation through the digital person interface, and make something really interactive and useful to the world, well, at least to Morningstar and their version of the world. So yeah, that is kind of it, guys. What we're trying to do, like just the vision of what this does is really that, it's trying to take, historically chatbot applications. This is where hopefully this is useful or like a good learning experience. Historically, up until about 8 months ago, just with the proliferation of generative AI, chatbot applications tended to start at a single point in time and branch their way out. You would have to accommodate for all manner of user interactions that were very difficult to write in a comprehensive way. What the digital person with generative AI does is it allows you to start from the big scope of everything that LLM is trained on and start to rein it in and create something that's usable and interactive for just for your audiences. What you're seeing right now is our default UI that is just deployed via web browser, but we also do have like a web widget that would be just a small JavaScript snippet that you insert into the head of your application. Creates a little web widget, and it's all mobile optimized as well. What we're finding is that just having that little concierge even is very useful for especially like people who would want to maybe talk to a human or have the the effect of talking to a human, but are not actually comfortable with calling and talking to someone. That has been game changing for some of these these companies like CAA. So. It looks like we're at 5 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, so custom voices they're on the roadmap, specifically 11 Labs. I know the quality is higher than the traditional players in the text-to-speech space. It's not available yet. I believe within the next 2 quarters is the idea. So that's a really good question.
And will you also be able to source?
Yep. If it's a publicly available site, you can train the at least the generative conversation on that URL, and it will convert the site content into conversation optimized content. Yeah.
Can Gary GitHub V2 speak different languages?
Should we try? Hola Gary, ¿cómo estás?
Hola. Estoy muy bien. Gracias por preguntar. ¿En qué puedo ayudar hoy?
Something to note is that it's really, when we're utilizing OpenAI, it's it's limited to the languages that are available to OpenAI, of course. Also, the language that's set for the text-to-speech and speech-to-text is specifically the text-to-speech provider. The lip syncing might be off if you try and utilize a different language than what that's set to. So it's not going to be, it won't be optimal, but you can do multiple languages in this case. So, but typically the best practice would be like if you have, applications where you would want multiple languages, is usually to present, users with multiple languages, like with a link to each experience in that specific language. It's just more immersive. I cannot know, but can you? We could try. I don't know if OpenAI. I'm not sure if OpenAI has Mandarin. Maybe it does. That's really good. I am afraid of this. I was afraid that this wouldn't work, frankly. So I would hate to sully your vision of it's working. Yeah. Yeah, this is good though. What other questions do we have? Yeah.
Hi, first of all, very impressive. Thank you so much. I wanted to ask you, do you use generative AI to generate avatars? And do you consider personalization in your roadmap?
So do we use generative AI to generate the avatars? Yeah. And then what was the second question?
So the second question, do you plan to personalize the avatars for users? For example, you can see their profile and you can create an avatar that will be specific to this user that can increase conversion, for example.
Sure. So we do not, the avatars that you're seeing right now, they're not created through generative AI. Like all of what you're seeing right now is built in our proprietary rendering engine. Being in that proprietary rendering engine means that you're limited to changing what we have control over for the facial features, structures, things like that. Sorry. Remember to turn the microphone off that time. So yeah, and in terms of like personalizing for users, I mean, ultimately it comes up to, what would you want to present to your users? Perhaps you want to present the same conversation, but with different avatars. Like you would be able to attach the same within the project, the same guidelines for like a generative conversation, but put it to a different look and a different looking digital person each time, and maybe present some options that way. like these things don't, they don't generate on the fly necessarily. Like they need to be rendered and then available through our video servers, which are, available across the world for latency purposes. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Okay.
Another couple of questions, if there are any.
Dovetailing on that last question, what happens on day 2 for Gary? So GitHub releases new features. Do I have to rebuild a new Gary?
Well, that's a great question. If you're training I want to think about how I answer this. Typically, you would want to like redeploy. You'd want to redeploy these digital people. So right now, what you're looking at is a deployment. But if, let's say, GitHub released an entirely new business model, and GitHub.com was now an e-commerce marketplace for some reason, right? In order for the conversation to actually take effect or like take that into account, you would want to just redeploy the digital person, which just rebuilds the knowledge, rescrapes the URLs, and then represents them. So it's not difficult, right? Like I just did it right now. But you do need to redeploy in order to recapture those URLs. They don't dynamically update, if that makes sense, because you're rebuilding a new knowledge set and pre-prompting it to, in this case, a generative conversation. These are really good questions, guys.
One last question. Perfect.
Oh, thanks for your presentation. In kind of the demos that you had built out, it seems like a lot of them are in their 20s. I was just wondering if you could modify the age to like older or younger, depending on the customer's use case.
Yeah, that's a great question. The digital people definitely kind of cap out a little bit in the like early to mid 40s range. It's probably one of our biggest areas of product requests in terms of the actual appearance of the avatars, is how do we make them look a little bit older, especially because a lot of the applications for customers might be accessibility or usability focused for senior citizens who typically would want to like maybe talk to someone who looks closer in age to them. And so there are things that you can do that we provide some pointers for when you create and customize a digital person, in terms of like adding some aging around the face, but usually at this time we kind of cap out around the like 40. Like early 40s range is what I would call it. So that's a really good question too, though. And that is actually something that as we're building out more feature sets for just like the appearance of avatars, we're continuing to like take that feedback and expand the age range as well. So
awesome. Thank you, everyone. Round of applause for Alex and rest of the speakers. Another round of applause for such an energetic and